Hello, everyone. I am Jeannie Walters, and this is another Experience Investigators webinar. We are here to talk about how learning paths can create customer experience success. We'll be going through a few steps, a few ideas, as well as just how to tackle this in your organization. So, for those of you who don't know me, I am Jeannie Walters. I am CEO of a company called Experience Investigators, where we help organizations get their customer experience foundations right so that they can deliver on their customer experience mission and get better business results. I also have a couple LinkedIn learning courses that you might have found, and you can reach me in all of these different places. We conduct a lot of virtual workshops and speaking and things like that, so reach out if you ever have a need. So today we're talking about how to really implement learning in your organization around customer experience. Now, why is this so important and why are we even talking about this? Well, as the late, great Tony Hsieh from Zappos said, customer service shouldn't just be a department, it should be the entire company. Now, I love this idea, but a lot of times what I see is that it's executed by just saying that, by saying to all of your people across your organization, everybody has to think about customer experience. But if you say it in that general way, if you don't give them tools and training and resources to really understand how they personally have an impact on your customer's journey, then it can quickly become just words. And I know that if you're showing up for a lesson like this, you're really interested in looking beyond those words and putting things into action. So, first of all, what is this thing we're calling a learning path? Well, our friends in learning and development and curriculum designers, they understand that, sometimes you need to put together a series of learning of lessons. Give people a little bit at a time so that they can master something, so that they can really internalize what you're doing. If we dump all the information in one training or in one session, then it's really hard to make sure that you're reinforcing those messages. If you look at even how college kids are learning these days, this has a lot to do with learning paths. It's about taking those little steps so that you can master the subject, so that you can really understand how it impacts you. So, by helping your learners take on customer experience a little at a time in your organization, you're actually helping them internalize it so they feel empowered and they make the right judgment calls specifically around CX for you. So, when we think about learning paths, these are a few ways to consider how do you approach this topic with your employees and with your learners throughout your organization. The first thing, customer experience 101. We'll talk a little bit about what I feel are the most important aspects of this. The second phase can be about what this really means, what the how, the who of your company. So make it customized around what's happening within your organization. The next phase is all about the team and role specific education. How do we get everybody on board? How do we make sure that customer service versus the financial group understands how they impact the customer? And then finally, you want everybody in your organization to really understand that experience is about design and improvement. We want to make things better for our customers on a daily basis. And the best way to do that is to encourage and empower people with the right tools, the right attitudes, and the right language, even around this. So let's talk about customer experience 101. When we say this, a lot of times people don't even realize that they're defining customer experience differently throughout their organization. And so by taking a step to really understand what is customer experience, why does that have an impact not only on our customers, but also on our organization, that can have ripple effects throughout your brand. Simply because we want to understand that customer experience is about the end to end journey that your brand has with your customers. That means that it's not just about the customer facing people, it's not just about the folks who are answering those phones. This is about every single person in your organization leading through and understanding how they fit in. We also want to look at what does that look like for you? How do you actually understand what the customer experience is at your brand? For instance, a retailer is very different than an insurance provider. So understanding what is that customer experience? Where are those touch points? And then finally, you want to talk about your customer experience mission. Now, if you don't have a mission, there are several ways to do that, but we actually have a great resource that we'll tell you about. Now, when we talk about all of these things, we have to put it into the context of what is it like here, but also why does that matter in the big picture? What is customer experience in the world? How does this compare to our industry competitors, as well as the expectations that our customers have? All of that can be tackled in this 101, in this basic idea of a learning path, a little at a time. Now, once people feel like they have a good idea of strategy with customer experience and how it fits in with your brand and what it means to the world and where they fit, then we want to talk very specifically about what's actually happening at your company. So, what does a successful customer experience deliver for everyone in your organization? So, while you may have talked a lot about what it does for your customers in that first round of learning, this is where you flip the script a little bit and talk about what it does for you and your organization. Understanding how customer experience strategy actually backs up your overall organizational goals, how delivering on customer experience can improve metrics that everybody in your organization cares about, and essentially, it makes it a better place to work. People enjoy delivering great experiences and getting that positive feedback. Nobody wants to work somewhere where everybody's always complaining. And so, by looking at things from that lens, you can really connect the dots for your employees between what they're doing and how they're delivering it and your overall organizational goals, your strategy. How do we know how we're doing? What feedback are we collecting? Help everybody in your organization understand those metrics that are reported out so that when they see an NPS report, they know, oh, look, we went up. And that's a good thing because that's going to increase word of mouth referrals and that's going to increase retention and that's going to increase our bonuses. All of those ways that you can connect the dots for your employees. That's a great place to start with phase two. And then finally, you want to get to very specifically those leaders, those teams that you're interacting with around this education. What sort of curriculum do they need? So, when you're thinking about your internal communications team, for instance, how should they communicate about customer experience throughout your organization? What about your accounting team? Do they really understand that they are customer facing, that they are interacting with the customer simply by sending out invoices or by following up with people on financial matters? That is still interacting with the customers. They have a really important role to play. So, by training and providing education on these specific needs of specific teams, you can really impact the individual effect that each person on those team has. And they can feel better about it. They can feel empowered to do things. And then by the time you talk about improving the experience, they might have a lot of great ideas by that point too, because they've been wrapped up in this curriculum by this point. And then finally, you want to talk about those big ideas around experience design and improvement. How do we do that? What are the mechanisms around reporting those issues that we see that we think we could do a better job for our customers? Or how do we actually look at the customer journey from that end to end perspective, even when we might only be interacting with one small part of it as an employee? We need to think through what do every single person in our organization, what do they need to know in order to really help us improve and design around the customer experience? So, once we have those individual customized learning paths, we also want to think about how do we support this whole idea culturally? This is really creating a long term cultural shift. So, sometimes when people come to me and they say, you know what, we need a workshop, I'm like, great, let's do a workshop. But then let's think about what happens in 6 months, what happens in 12 months. Because by just announcing something or just having one training, then you're missing opportunities to really start moving the needle in a long term way. So when we talk about a cultural long term shift, that's what we're talking about. Getting everybody in the organization to just realize that customer experience is who we are, it's how we show up, and it's what we do every day. And so, as you look to designing these custom learning paths, keep in mind a few ways to support that learning path, those learning paths to create that long term shift. One, we need to really communicate clearly about why this is so important. Number two, we're going to tie that back to our customer experience mission. This is something you've heard me talk about a lot because I'm a big believer in this. And then finally, you want to embrace what's next. You want to make sure that you're future focused when you're talking about learning, when you're really making sure that everybody's on board with where you're headed as an organization. So, the first one, communicate clearly about why these learning paths are important. So important. And yet, how many of you have been invited to training? How many of you have been told that you need to go through a learning path in your learning management system or something like that? But you're never told why that's important. You're just told to do it. That happens all the time. You're much less likely to engage if you don't really understand the why, the purpose. And so understanding how to connect a better experience for those you serve with the employee experience, that is a big why. Understanding that if we all get on the same page with this, we will have more opportunities to deliver more things to our customers. We will have more opportunities to grow and scale and succeed. And so, really defining that this is why it's about success of our organization, and it helps everybody at an individual level really understand their purpose and their role as well. You want to tie everything back to this customer experience mission. And if you don't have a customer experience mission, we have several resources for you, including a workbook that you can download and really identify what is your specific customer experience mission. So feel free to download that with the link below. The the customer experience mission is really your North Star. Why are you doing this? What is the experience that we want to deliver every time? How do we show up for our customers? By tying your curriculum back to that, you're basically helping people understand that's what we're doing. We're living up to this mission. Super, super important. And then finally, you want to embrace what's next here. And you want to embrace what's next because if you are not talking about some of the amazing things going on just with customer experience in general, but also in your specific industry, then your employees will see that. They see where the future is going. So paint a picture of, okay, we want to get prepared because we know that artificial intelligence is going to have a huge impact on our industry. We want to make sure that we are preparing our employees in the best possible way to do this. So let's talk about what's next. We know that, some competitors of ours are ahead of us. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about how we can overcome that with great customer experience. Because if you don't talk about it, your employees and your learners will start to think, well, what do you know anyway? So it's really easy to kind of stagnate with curriculum and with education. I encourage you to look at this as an ongoing thing, as something that you are leveraging in your organization to empower your employees and to deliver great customer experience, no matter who they are and no matter where on the journey your customers are as well. So to recap here, these are the four paths, that are recommended here. So you start at that general level of customer experience 101, explaining what it is and what it means to your organization. You move into the what, how, and who of your company. Who's doing what? When do things happen? What's actually going on? How do we collect that feedback? And what does it mean? All of those things. And then you want to go into that team and role specific journey where you're looking at what's most important for this team to know about customer experience and how can we empower them in the best way with the right tools, the right resources, and the right education. And then finally, you want everybody thinking big. You want everybody thinking about experience design and improvement. How do we actually improve the journey for our customers? And what do you have to do with that, employee? You want to connect those dots so that they know exactly what mechanisms to use, what tools they have, what resources are provided for them so that they can do this well for you. And then throughout any sort of educational program, you want to keep in mind that, to do this well, you need to tie everything back to that why. Explain the why early and often because people need to hear that. They need to know that this isn't just an exercise in training. This is about something bigger. And that ties back to your customer experience mission. If you can create that customer experience mission, share it far and wide, and then keep connecting back to that, people will realize it's not just something you say, it's something you act on, it's something that you show up for. And that's what makes the difference in cultural change. And then finally, you want to embrace what's next. Don't be afraid of what you don't know. Actually, talk about that. Talk about the future. Talk about innovation. Get everybody involved, and they will start delivering ideas that blow you away. So, really, when it comes down to this, learning is a key way to encourage and facilitate innovation within your own organization. It really is. And now that we have all of these tools, learning is so flexible these days. We have learning management systems, we have video courses, we have ways to interact when we're not necessarily in the same room, all of those things. There's micro learning. There are all sorts of ways to do this. But the more that you talk about customer experience as a tool, as a strategy, as a discipline, as a way to not only, get your customers happier and spend more money with you, but also to actually enjoy the experience more inside the organization. This has been shown over and over. The more that the employees are treated well and feel good about what they're doing and understand that their role is connected to a purpose, the longer they'll stay with you and the customer experience gets better because they're delivering on the customer experience in a happier way. They stay longer so you don't have that retention problem with employees, and they're more willing to do more for your customers. So instead of just following processes and scripts, they're willing to step outside and think through and act in the best possible way for all of your customers. So it really is a win-win, and learning is a huge part of this. And it's something we probably don't talk about enough. We don't talk about these learning paths specifically around customer experience for all employees as much as we should, in my humble opinion. So I wish you great luck developing and designing your learning paths. We are constantly thinking about ways to help and provide resources for you. So if you haven't already, I encourage you to sign up for the Year of CX, which is at yearofcx.com. We have several tools that we release every few weeks throughout the year. And there are tools to help you design your customer experience mission, to think about how you communicate, to set your customer experience goals, all sorts of things. So that you can find all of that at yearofcx.com. You can find me in all of these different places. We always love to see you here. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel because we release a video like this every Friday. We either do a recording or sometimes we're live. So join us then as well. But until then, have a great day and good luck with all of your learning. Thanks.